I have my ESKY Mini ES2 750mm Wingspan beginner FPV plane out here again today. Very little wind, about 2 to 3 miles per hour. The plane stock is extremely stable in 6G mode. I mean, it is really, really stable and a blast to fly in fully stabilized mode. But in 3D mode, it's got some really, really bad tendencies. I don't know what they did with their 3D mode, but it does some very unpredictable things. So I decided, you know, since I like the airframe so much, and I want to be able to do aerobatics with it as well as cruise around, so I have replaced all the electronics in it. I replaced the receiver gyro ESC board with a Byme-A gyro, that's a RadioLink Byme-A gyro, a RadioLink R8 FM SBUS/PPM receiver. I've got an HTIRC Hornet 12 amp ESC. It's rated for 2S to 4S. It has a 5 volt 1 amp back in it. I replaced the aileron servo with a 9 gram Detrum digital servo. I replaced the elevator and rudder servos with EMAX 9051 4.1 gram digital servos. I've got the stock battery in it. The motor is still stock. The prop is still stock. I've got one flight on it so far this morning just to get it trimmed out a little bit. I still have quite a bit of trimming to do on it and tuning to do on it. But I want to put it in the air and put it into the wind mitigation mode so I don't have any restrictions. And I also adjusted the aileron linkage to give me more movement. Let me see. I think that's about it. I've still got some work to do now that I've changed everything around. I've got some work to do on the horizontal stabilizer / elevator assembly to get it cruising again nice and smooth and level at cruising speed. So go ahead and hook up the battery and we'll launch it, and we'll take a look at its aerobatic nature with just the stock power system, the stock motor and stock prop. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so let's take it out here and launch it. I have had some issues with the ESC in this plane. At lower RPM, it keeps losing sync on the motor, so I've got to make sure that I keep a little bit of altitude on it. I'm going to, when I get done with this flight session, get back to the hangar, I'm going to be replacing that ESC before I bring it back out again. It just is not syncing up with this high kV motor for whatever reason at low RPM. At higher RPM, it seems to do just fine. But anyway, I've got it in fully stabilized mode for launching. Okay, so that's fully stabilized mode, and it seems to me, other than me needing to get some tuning and some trim work done on it, it seems to be just as stable with this Byme-A gyro in fully stabilized mode as it was with the stock setup. It looks like it has just as good a slow speed as it had, and I'm just using rudder right now for the turns. But I've got to maintain a little bit of altitude because I never know when that motor is going to cut out, or the ESC is going to cut out. But yeah, it seems to be doing just fine. As far as stability and slow speed, it is with the stock battery, which is what I have in it right now. It is 9 grams heavier than it was stock with the new electronics in it. Okay, so it's getting a little altitude. I'm going to put it into wind mitigation mode now. So let's make a circuit through here and come back through, and we'll do a loop with it. I want to make sure I'm running away from the sun. Okay. So it certainly has enough power to do some loops. Even with that stock prop. Now I'm going to be putting the load meter on it and see what it's, how many amps it's pulling with the stock prop on that motor. Very stable, very stable. And then put a, I think I'm going to put a 4024 or 4026. See, there goes the motor. Did you see that cut out? Yeah, so I've got some issues with this ESC. But not bad on the loops, huh? Alright, so we'll come back through here again. We'll do a roll with it. Now that I've got a lot more movement on the ailerons, and in 3D mode it seemed like the gyro, the stock gyro, was really still restricting movement of the ailerons for whatever reason. Because, check out that roll right now, because after I modified the linkage a little bit and replaced that stock servo, I had to really turn down my dual rates on, I really had to turn down my dual rates on the ailerons because I was just getting way too much movement out of them. So that 3D mode on the stock gyro was really, really restrictive on the ailerons. Okay, so we'll come back through here again and see if we can do a hammerhead with it. I'm not going to attempt to implement until I get a little more power on it. I tried one on the first flight, and it was so slow at the apex of the loop that I barely had enough, you know, speed on the rotation. Yeah, it'll do a hammerhead. It doesn't have enough power to really push it vertical, really, you know, to do really well hammerheads, but it will do it. Look at that. So yeah, so I've got some tuning and trimming to do, and then they will look a lot better, but pretty darn cool, I think. Pretty darn cool. As stable as this airframe is, I figured it would be good for some aerobatics. And there goes my motor, my ESC again, kicking out. And yeah, it is definitely going to be good for aerobatics, especially when I put a prop on there. Look at that. That's a pretty big wide loop for that 4x1 prop that's on there right now. So I'm going to have a lot of fun, a lot more fun with this plane now that it can do aerobatics now. Alright, so I'll put it back into fully stabilized mode. I think, yeah, it should be in fully stabilized mode now. But man, that is going to be so cool, guys. I really, really like this airframe. It is just a, there goes my ESC again. It is just really a stable and forgiving airframe. And so, you know, with the stock gyro system and fully stabilized mode, it's an absolute blast. It glides forever, as demonstrated in the previous flights. But if you're like me, and you're not a beginner anymore, and you want to perform some aerobatics with it, changing out those electronics. It took me, I don't know, selecting the electronics for it, getting everything set up, fabricating a little shelf for the gyro, after pulling out the stock board. I would say it probably took me about half a day to get everything switched out, get it programmed and set up. But once I get a better ESC in it, man, this is going to be awesome. And my guess is, with that ESC not syncing right with this motor, I'm guessing I'm probably not getting all the power out of that power system that I should be getting out of it. So then there it goes again. So we'll see how. Alright, so my timer is elapsed. We'll bring it back through here and we'll get it on the ground. Hopefully the ESC won't cut out while I'm bringing it in. But absolutely fantastic airframe, guys. It's they did a really, really good job on this airframe, and they did a really, really good job look at that. They did a really, really good job on this airframe. And they did a really, really good job with the electronics in fully stabilized mode and beginner mode. But in 3D mode, it was just really, really erratic and unpredictable. So I don't recommend I don't recommend it in 3D mode with stock electronics, but now that I've got those replaced, man, did you see that roll rate? That was absolutely fantastic. And if you get up plenty of speed before you pull the loop, it cuts through the air so well and has so little drag, you can pull some pretty wide loops with it. And I'm hoping that when I get a little more aggressive prop on it, it'll be able to push vertical fairly well too. If I could get it to around a 1-to-1 thrust to weight ratio, I think it's going to be awesome for aerobatics. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.